Your wine is now done. I'm going to show you the steps necessary to get your wine from here into here. I'm going to show you how to do the transfer. I'm going to show you how to cork it. I'm going to show you how to cap it. And I'm going to show you how to put a label on it. Hi, I'm Charles, and welcome to DIY Fermentation, your site for doing fermentation on a shoestring budget. Of course, as always, if you like what you see here, please click on the subscribe button, and I will try and do one of these as often as I can. Now I'm going to go under the assumption that you're not entirely familiar with the process needed to get your wine from here to here, which is why you're on our YouTube channel trying to find out. All right, I'll take it from that level. First thing we need to do, of course, if you have an airlock, go ahead and remove your airlock. Otherwise, if you still have a cap, go ahead and remove your cap. Now, I've already done a video on racking, so I'm not going to do that all over again. I'll just summarize by simply saying that one of the ways you cannot transfer your wine is to take a funnel and then try to pour your wine into your wine bottle. That's not going to work. And in case you're wondering why it's not going to work, is because if you do that, you're going to aerate your wine. And if you aerate your wine, you're going to start to oxidize your wine, which is basically the first step, kind of a long process, of turning your wine into vinegar. So we don't want to do that. So we want to try and minimize the amount of splashing or the introduction of air into your wine bottle. A couple of ways, again, you can do that. One, if you've got a hose, you can use the old-fashioned method, inserting your hose, sucking up as much of the wine as possible, and letting gravity do the rest, which is how I first started. And one of the first accessories that I got when I decided to upgrade a little bit was a racking cane, because this can be messy. Now, the use of a racking cane, again, simplifies matters a great deal. We can just go ahead and insert our racking cane after it's been sanitized with Star Sands. And we can insert the other end into our bottle. And after one or two good pumps, we can just simply let gravity do the rest. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. My next accessory is going to be a bottling wand, and that's basically an accessory that fits at the other end of the hose with at the tip, it's got a little valve that as soon as you lift up the bottling wand, the flow will cease. Not having one yet, I have to rely on the following method. I have to rely on gravity to work for or against me in this case. By keeping the level above the jug, I can slowly adjust how much wine and at what rate I want the wine to come out. About right there should do it. Again, without that bottling wine, you are susceptible to having little drips and spills. This time, however, I came prepared. So let's take care of that right away. All right. First step, getting your wine from here to here. Done. Now, before I move on, I'm going under the assumption that you have already back sweetened your wine. I.e. back sweetening, you put sugar in it first, because sometimes your wine is going to be as dry as a bone. If you're not familiar with the process of back sweetening, then I suggest you check out my last video on back sweetening. And it also goes to say that I'm assuming that you've also degassed your wine. I haven't covered that yet, but basically it means they've removed all of the O2 that's built up to prevent gas buildup or pressure buildup that's going to stop this from exploding out and hitting the ceiling or your bottle actually exploding. But moving on, your cork. This is a number 8 wine cork. A number 8 and a number 9 will fit in your bottle. Generally will fit in most wine bottles. The 8 is a slightly smaller size, and if you're only planning on keeping your wine for about a year or two, that's perfectly fine. A 9 will give you a much tighter fit, so if you're planning on keeping your wine for years and years, then you probably want to go that route. Another thing about corks is that is a natural cork. This is an artificial cork. Both will work, not a problem. This is a cork that originally came with this bottle when I bought it, because these are recycled bottles. I mean, I can't afford to be buying bottles all the time. Generally, you should not reuse your corks. Definitely, you should not reuse your natural corks. An artificial cork, well, I'm going to say you shouldn't use it, but if you were careful and you only drilled in one side with your corkscrew and you didn't penetrate the other side, so you've got it's basically unbroken. If you plan on drinking this within the next couple of months, I'm going to say, hey, if this is all you got, I'm just saying. But again, how do you get this into this? Obviously, you just can't try and force it in, because that's just not going to work. It's not going to fit. You might have some success with this, but it's not going to fit all the way for tight seals. And you need a tight seal, again, to prevent your wine from turning into oxidation. You're probably going to need one of these. There's a floor model or floor standing model of one of these that will do exactly the same thing, but basically you're going to need an easier method of getting your cork in. This has already been soaked in Star San, so I know it's been sanitized. And the process of getting this into this is that you first need to put your cork in there, putting it over your wine bottle. And normally I'm standing up doing this, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out. And then slowly, and with a little bit of firmness, push your cork into the bottle. Done. I always have this fear in the back of my mind that if I'm pushing down too hard, because you have to use some degree of force with this. If you're pushing down too hard, it's going to break the little neck, and next thing I know, I'm standing over it trying to push it down, and I lose an eye. It's always in the back of my mind. It's not going to happen yet, but I always try to stand just a little bit away from it when I make that effort. There we go. We've got a wine in the bottle. We've got a cork in the bottle. What are we going to do next? The next thing we want to do is start to dress our wine bottle up, starting with a cap. Now, to put our cap on, the cap itself is really nothing more than just a heat shrink type material. Some will have the pull tabs, some will not. It's going to look good either way. And all we really want to do, a couple of ways we can do it. We could either use a heat gun, or we can use a hair dryer with a good hot setting, or you can use steam. Or the quickest way that I found to do it was just simply take some boiling water, just grab onto the base of your cap so that it doesn't slide off, and just dip it in the water. And as you can see, it's already beginning to form a nice tight seal. And to finish the job, we just simply dip it in the rest of the way, cover the remaining part. Only takes a few seconds, and there you go. That is on there. All right, we done bottled it, we done corked it, we done capped it. Now we're going to transform this plain Jane naked looking bottle from this into something that's going to look a lot more like this, without it looking like this, if we can avoid it. Now, one of the ways of doing that is that we can basically create our own labels, or you can buy your own labels if you've got the funds for it. By creating your own labels, you can now dress up your wine bottle any way you like. But how are you going to create your own labels? Get on WordPerfect or whatever design creating tool you might want to use and do it that way. Or you can use online sites that are basically free. Sites like Canvas is what I use, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And basically all you're really doing if you're going to create your own wine labels is to create your design or use the template and modify it any way you want. And then once you're ready to print it up, you can either have them print it up for a small fee, or you can print it up yourself. And one way of printing it up yourself is that you want to take a full sheet label. Basically, it's just, if you've seen if you've seen labels at work in the office, you've got like multiple rows of different labels on a sheet. You just peel them off and stick them on. Well, this is just a full sheet version of it. So you just simply print on that. When you're all set and ready to put them on, you just peel off your labels and stick them to your bottle. Now, of course, this is a full sheet label. If you printed up something that looks like this, well, you're going to have to cut these out and basically then put them on the labels. You can either use a paper cutter or you can use a paper cutter. Either way will work. Once you've got your labels cut out and you're ready to apply, and in this case, you have to find the seam where the backing is and peel off your label. But sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do. Peel off your label. And doing this upside down is not the easiest way to do this. Move this out the way for a moment. Find a suitable spot and just simply apply your label. Boom. Now, for those of you who are recycling your bottles and you've had gone through the effort of having to scrub off and scrape off the existing label so that you can have a clean wine bottle to work with, it's not any easier scraping these labels off either. These things are kind of on there, okay? So it'll be a little bit of an effort to get them off, but they will come off. I mean, use your standard method for doing so. But now that we've gone from bottling, to corking, the capping, to labeling, our wine bottle is now ready. We can actually, if we wanted to, give this as a gift. We can give this as a gift. Or we can say, just pick one out of the pile and give this as a gift. Your choice. Oh, by the way, if anything you see here is you found of interest, please click on the subscribe button, help a brother out, and that will be gratefully appreciated. Until then, I'm going to try and do 2 videos a week. Not quite sure how I'm going to do it. I've got a few that are already in process and already uploaded, but I'm going to try for 2 a week for a minute to see how that goes. So until then, check out one of my other videos.